The night sky was quiet. In a small control room, deep under the Earth's surface, a young woman named Dr. Alina sat in front of a glowing screen. Her eyes were tired. She had been listening to space signals for many years. Most of them were noise. Stars, black holes, satellites. Nothing special. But tonight, something was different. A sharp beep hit her ears. Not a normal sound, not random. It repeated. Beep. Pause. Beep beep. Long pause. Beep. Alina frowned. This is a pattern, she whispered. She quickly typed a few commands. The signal became clearer. It was old. So old, even light took millions of years to bring it here. But the most shocking part wasn't the age. It was the language. Signal was using Earth mathematics. Prime numbers, perfect sequences. And at the end, a simple binary message. Prepare. The strongest is coming. Alina's hands shook. Her heart beat faster. She called her senior, Dr. Hassan. Sir, she said, voice trembling, you need to see this. In just 1 hour, the room was full. Top scientists, military officers, and global intelligence leaders stared at the same message. A tall man in uniform asked, "Are we under attack?" "No," Alina answered. "It's not a threat. It's a warning." Dr. Hassan nodded. "It's like someone out there is telling us to get ready." But ready for what? No one answered. The silence in the room was heavier than metal. Across the world, the signal spread. NASA, ESA, ISRO, China's Space Division all confirmed. It was real. The message had traveled from a distant galaxy. The sender? Unknown. But scientists soon found something else. Something that made the warning even more terrifying. They discovered the signal had passed through 7 dead planets before reaching Earth. On each of those planets, ancient signs of life were found. Civilizations that were once alive, now all gone. Destroyed. Like something had erased them. In a private meeting, world leaders gathered. The President of the United States spoke first. "We must assume this strongest species is dangerous." The Prime Minister of India replied, "But the message is not a threat. It could mean alliance or help. But what if it's a test?" Asked the Russian general. "What if they sent this to see how we react?" Dr. Hassan stepped forward. "We must reply. If we ignore it, we look weak. If we panic, we show fear. We need to respond with strength and curiosity." The room agreed. A message was sent back. Simple, calm, smart. "We have received your message. We are ready to meet. We are not afraid." No reply came. Days passed. Then weeks. Nothing. Some people said it was a prank from deep space. Others believed it was a trap. The world was nervous. News channels went wild. Internet theories exploded. Some said aliens were already here. Some said war was coming. But somewhere, out in the cold black galaxy, something had started moving. Ship, or maybe a fleet. Its direction, Earth. Meanwhile, in a space station orbiting Mars, 2 astronauts were fixing a communication tower. Suddenly, their tools stopped working. Lights flickered. Their radios screamed with static. Then, for 1 second, everything went quiet. And from deep space, the same signal played again. Beep, beep, beep. Followed by a new message. "You answered. We are coming." Back on Earth, Dr. Alina stared at the updated screen. Her fingers froze. "We just made first contact," she whispered. She didn't know what was coming. No one did. But one thing was clear. Humanity was no longer alone. And the strongest species in the galaxy had heard our name. The stars looked peaceful, but peace is a lie in some corners of the galaxy. There are places out there where planets bleed fire, where winds scream like monsters, and where the ground itself wants you dead. These are not just dangerous planets. They are called Deathworlds, and only one species calls the most violent Deathworld home. They do not just survive it, they own it, They are called the Varnak. Their world, Ravka, is a nightmare. Volcanoes erupt without warning. The oceans are black, thick, and boiling. The animals? Every single one is poisonous. Even the plants have teeth. The sky is filled with lightning almost every hour. It never truly gets quiet. It never truly gets safe. But the Varnak are born. In it, their skin is like armor. Their eyes see through dust storms. Their bones are 10 times stronger than steel. They don't feel cold. They don't feel fear, and most terrifying of all, they learn. They are not mindless beasts. They are warriors, scientists, thinkers, and they've been watching the galaxy for a long, long time. On the day Earth sent out its reply, "We are ready to meet. We are not afraid." The Varnak Council met. They sat around a large circular pit filled with blue fire. Their skin glowed in the heat, but their expressions stayed calm. Another signal. One Varnak elder said. Another soft-world race looking for friends. Another growled. "They always want to be part of something." A third one laughed. Sharp teeth showing, but one of them didn't laugh. Her name was Kerala, the supreme mind of the Varnak. She had seen something different in the signal. It came from a Deathworld, she said quietly. The room fell silent. A Deathworld? They checked. She was right. Earth. Planet ID. Sol-3. Gravity. Strong. Weather. Unstable. Creatures. Dangerous. Civilization. Alive. And yet, against all odds, humans were not hiding. They were thriving. Could it be? One Varnak asked. Another like us. No, Kerala said. They are not like us. They are something else. She pointed at the message again. We are not afraid. No other species had ever said that. Most begged. Some stayed silent. Others ran, but this one. It answered with calm. It claimed strength. A decision was made. We go to them, said Kerala, not to destroy, not to invade, to understand. The others nodded. But deep inside, many still expected Earth to break, just like the other 7 civilizations they had tested before. So the great ships of the Varnak began to move. Massive, silent, black ships with no engines visible. They traveled faster than light, leaving no trace, toward Earth. Back on Earth, humanity was preparing for contact. The military placed satellites in every corner of orbit. Scientists created translation programs. Psychologists studied alien behavior theories. Some people prayed. Others protested. But one small boy, watching the stars from his balcony, said something no one else did. I hope they're cool aliens. 3 weeks passed. Then. The sky changed. At first, it looked like a star blinking. Then 2, then 3. Telescopes locked on. The blinks weren't stars, they were ships. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Coming fast. And then, without sound, they stopped, right outside the solar system. No message. No movement. Just watching. Earth went silent. Inside the UN Space Command room, Dr. Alina stared at the screen. Her voice cracked. They're here. In the Varnak command ship, Kerala stood in front of a large hologram of Earth. The blue planet rotated slowly. She turned to her crew. Now we see, she said, if these soft-skinned firewalkers are truly fearless. Or just foolish. She opened the communication channel. And sent a message. Humanity, we have seen your world. We are the Varnak, the strongest Deathworld species. You are the first to answer without fear. We are curious. Show us who you truly are. Back on Earth, every screen lit up with the message. Every language translated it. The people watched. Some in awe. Some in terror. Then Earth replied. A message written not by generals, but by a childlike curiosity. Simple words. Big meaning. Come meet us. We'll show you everything. Kerala blinked. The crew looked confused. They invite us? A Varnak asked. Kerala smiled. Not cruel. Not amused, but truly interested. They are not what we expected. The world did not sleep. After the Varnak sent their message, Earth paused, not in fear, but in focus. They were coming, the strongest Deathworld species in the galaxy. Creatures who lived in acid rain, walked through lava, and didn't flinch at pain. They had studied other civilizations, and those civilizations no longer existed. But this time, they weren't here to destroy. They were here because they were curious. And humanity? Well, humans were always curious. In an underground base beneath the Swiss Alps, a meeting was held. The top minds of Earth had gathered: scientists, doctors, linguists, military strategists, artists, historians, even comedians. Yes, even comedians. Because someone had said, if aliens meet us, they should know everything, including how weird we are. At the front of the room stood Dr. Lena Osborne, head of the International First Contact Program. She wore a simple black coat, her voice calm but sharp. The Varnak are watching, she said. They want to meet the species who answered without fear. A general grunted. They want to test us. A poet raised his hand. Then let's show them what makes us human. A programmer nodded. Curiosity. A musician added. Emotion. A soldier replied. And fire. Lena smiled. We'll give them all three. For the first time in human history, the entire planet worked together, not to prepare for war, but to prepare for a conversation. Every country offered something. Japan built the meeting platform in orbit. Elegant, simple, indestructible. Germany created the translation system. Kenya sent cultural storytellers. India suggested a gift. A simple earth tree, still growing in soil. Brazil said, add music. And the US brought coffee. Because of course they did. A crew was chosen. Not the strongest, not the richest, but the most human. Captain Marlowe, a calm ex-pilot with a habit of quoting Shakespeare. Dr. Hannah Lee, biologist, cheerful and constantly asking questions. Jamal Carter, engineer, sarcastic, often singing under stress. Sophia Diaz, linguist, fluent in 14 languages and always writing. And 8-year-old Nico, a genius child who solved alien math without knowing it was alien. The world questioned Nico's place. But Lena said, curiosity doesn't wait for age. The day came. The meeting platform floated between Earth and the Varnak fleet, like a bridge between fire and water. From one side, 5 humans in slim suits, their hearts racing. From the other, 5 Varnak, taller than doors, skin like dark stone, eyes glowing faintly. No weapons. No guards. Just silence. Until Nico stepped forward. And waved. The Varnak didn't understand. In their culture, waving meant surrender. But this wave? It wasn't weak. It was bright, innocent, full of trust. Karela, the Varnak leader, tilted her head. Nico smiled wider. You have big eyes, he said honestly. Jamal whispered, oh no. But instead of reacting with offense, Kerala chuckled. A deep, strange sound, like thunder trying to laugh. This child is fearless, she said in her native language. The translator echoed. The small one sees without armor. Is this normal for your kind? Captain Marlowe stepped forward. Fear is natural, he said, but curiosity is stronger. The Varnak studied the humans, their breathing, their expressions, their strange need to smile even during serious talks. The way they sat loosely, the way they asked questions, again and again. Why are you here? What do your ships eat? Do you dream? Do you feel love? Kerala raised a brow. No other species ever asked us anything. Sophia, the linguist, nodded. Because we're not just trying to survive. We're trying to understand. The meeting lasted hours. The humans spoke of wars they'd won and wars they regretted. Of music and dance and failure and love. of art drawn on cave walls, of sending machines beyond Pluto, of people who fight to live even when the world gives them nothing. Doctor, Hannah said softly, we're messy, loud, slow to learn, but we never stop asking why. Kerala looked at her own crew. These creatures are not the strongest in body, she said, but they are persistent. Another Varnak replied, like fire that never dies. Another added, like water that keeps carving stone. Kerala turned to the humans. Perhaps, she said slowly, strength is not only in how you survive pain, but in how you rise after causing your own. Jamal raised a brow. Was that a compliment? Nico giggled. I think we passed the test. Kerala stared into the boy's eyes. No, she said. The test has just begun. As the humans returned to Earth, the Varnak sent a final message. We will stay. We will learn. We do not understand you, but we want to. The strongest species in the galaxy had found something they had never seen before. Not better weapons, not faster ships, but something far more dangerous. Human curiosity. Asterisk, the Varnak had traveled across galaxies. They had destroyed armies. They had walked through storms made of glass and fire. But nothing had prepared them for this. A look in the human eye, not the weapons, not the technology, not even the strange earth music that made no logical sense. It was the glance. That wild, quiet, thoughtful glance. The kind that spoke without words. We're not afraid of you, but we're interested. And that made the Varnak uncomfortable. For the first time in centuries, the second meeting took place aboard the Unity Dome, a floating station built between Earth and the Varnak fleet. It had walls made of smart glass, turning transparent or solid based on emotion sensors. Designed not just for comfort, but for communication without fear. The humans were ready early. Captain Marlowe wore a dark blue suit, simple but sharp. Dr. Hannah carried a plant in her arms, a glowing sunflower genetically made to absorb light in space. Sophia had a notebook filled with poetry and ancient Earth jokes. Jamal had snuck in a Bluetooth speaker and quietly played jazz when no one was looking. And Nico had drawn something, a sketch on paper. Two planets holding hands, the Varnak, arrived. Tall, heavy, silent. Each of them carried their own history, scars that healed like volcanic glass, memories of dead species. Planets turned to ash. Kerala stood in front of the human team again. Her voice was steady, but her mind was moving fast. You're kind. You speak much, but now we want to see. We want to understand what you are. Dr. Hannah stepped forward. She placed the glowing sunflower between them. This is called a gift, she said. You don't have to return anything, you just accept. The Varnak stared at it. One leaned closer. It grows in darkness? Yes, Hannah smiled, like us. For the next hour, the Varnak watched. Listened. Measured. They watched Nico ask, do you dream? They listened to Jamal joke, we're more dangerous with coffee than guns. They saw Captain Marlowe pause before answering anything, as if every word mattered. But it was Sophia who gave them the first real shock. She showed them her notebook. Inside were lines written in over 14 languages, Earth languages. Some spoken by billions, some forgotten by time. One Varnak tilted its head. Why do you write in languages your own kind no longer use? Sophia smiled gently. Because we carry our past with us. Even the broken parts. Kerala's eyes narrowed. That is inefficient. Maybe, Sophia replied. But it's human. Then came the glance. The moment Kerala looked into Captain Marlowe's eyes. And he looked back, not like a soldier, not like a warrior, but like a man seeing her. Really seeing. No fear. No challenge. Just curiosity and something else. Understanding. Varnak were used to being seen as monsters, but this human? He saw a person. Kerala stepped back. She felt something stir in her chest. Not pain, not fear, something she hadn't felt in decades. Doubt. Why? She asked suddenly. Why do you keep asking questions? Even when you have no answers? Captain Marlowe replied softly, because when you stop asking, you stop being. Alive, the Varnak asked to see Earth's art. They expected battle statues, war stories, victory chants. Instead, they saw paintings of lonely nights and hopeful mornings, songs about heartbreak and home, dances that meant nothing but made people smile, movies about robots finding love, poems written by prisoners who still dreamed of freedom. This is strength? One Varnak whispered. Double quotes, yes, Dr. Hana said. To feel deeply and still move forward, that's our version of strength. Kerala was silent for a long time. Then she turned to her crew. I see now, she said. These humans, they are not soft, they are not weak, they are not simple. They are wild, unpredictable, terrifying, and beautiful. Before leaving, Nico handed her the drawing. 2 planets holding hands. Kerala stared at it. Your people see us as equals? No, Nico said with a grin. We see you as new friends. As the Varnak returned to their ship, they didn't speak. For once, even among themselves. There was no need, because something had changed. This wasn't a species. To test, this was a species. To learn from Dot in her private chamber, Kerala stared at the Earth through her window. Bright, blue, alive. She placed the drawing on the wall, and for the first time since her youth, she whispered a word in the Varnak. Tongue, hope. The stars were quiet again, but silence in the galaxy didn't mean peace. It meant someone was waiting, watching, preparing something big. And this time, it was the Varnak. Inside the command deck of the Varnak flagship, Voratel, Supreme Leader. Kerala stood before a vast display screen. Earth floated gently in space, glowing blue and calm. Her 6 lieutenants surrounded her, each one tall, armored, and old enough to remember the last species they tested. This species is strange, one said. Their strength is emotional, not physical. Emotions are unstable, another replied. They make them dangerous. They trust too easily, a third added. That is weakness. Kerala raised a hand. No, she said. Trust is risk, and risk is a choice made by the brave. Still, tradition could not be ignored. The Varnak had tested every species before choosing alliance or exile. And no species had ever passed the final test. Now it was humanity's turn. A message was sent to Earth. The next phase begins. If you are truly strong, prove it. 3 trials, no weapons, no tricks, no fear. The world watched as 5 human representatives were chosen to face the Varnak's 3 trials of strength. Captain Marlowe, calm, steady, always observing. Dr. Hana Lee, biologist, empathetic, a master of adaptation. Jamal Carter, engineer, quick thinker, and unpredictable. Sophia Diaz, linguist and artist, the heart of the team. Nico, the child who still asked questions when others stayed quiet. The ship carrying the humans docked inside the Varnak Arena, a colossal space ring orbiting a black star. The arena had never been used for peace. It was built for one thing, survival, and no species had ever left it alive. Until now, none had even dared to enter it willingly. Trial 1. Endurance. The humans were placed on a simulation planet. An exact replica of Ravka, the Varnak homeworld. The ground burned. The air was thin. The heat cracked metal. Every few minutes the sky screamed with lightning, but humans didn't fight the storm. They adapted. Dr. Hana used local minerals to craft a cooling gel. Jamal rerouted their suit energy to slow their breathing. Sophia found shade patterns in the rock walls. Nico drew symbols in the dirt to mark safe paths. They didn't run. They endured together. When the trial ended, the Varnak were shocked. No one collapsed. No one cried. No one begged. Captain, Marlowe simply said, "That was a hard walk. But we've had worse Mondays." Trial 2. Fear. The second test was psychological. Each human was separated and placed into an illusion chamber, a room where their deepest fears came to life. Dr. Hannah saw her loved ones vanish. Sophia was trapped in silence. Jamal was lost in space, drifting alone. Nico saw Earth explode, but none of them gave up, because they had something the Varnak didn't understand. Memory, emotion, connection. Dr. Hannah whispered the names of her friends until the illusion cracked. Sophia imagined music louder than fear. Jamal told jokes to the dark. And Nico? He simply said, "This isn't real. I know what love feels like. And this isn't it." All 5 passed the fear trial. One Varnak commander whispered, "They walk through pain like they've done it before." Kerala replied, "Because they have." Trial 3. Choice. The last test was the most dangerous. The humans were placed in a large hall with 2 doors. One led to survival. The other, unknown fate. But this time, they were given a weapon. The Varnak voice echoed, "You may choose to use the weapon and destroy the danger, or you may choose trust. This is not a test of strength. This is a test of choice." Captain Marlowe picked up the weapon, held it, looked at the others, then dropped it. "No. We don't fight what we don't understand," Sophia said. "We ask," Hannah said. "We study." Jamal added, "We share." Nico whispered. Suddenly, the wall before them vanished. Behind it stood a Varnak child, small, unarmed, alone. Had they used the weapon, they would have failed, but they didn't. They chose trust. The hall lit up. The test was over. Rala stepped into the chamber herself. For the first time in Varnak history, she bowed her head. To choose peace and fear, she said, is the highest form of strength. You have passed. The humans looked at each other, tired, sweating, alive. But more than that, they were seen now, not as soft, not as broken, but as equals. Later, as they returned to Earth, Jamal asked, "Was that even real? Did we just impress aliens with feelings?" Captain Marlowe smiled. "We didn't follow their rules. We made our own." And from orbit, Kerala watched Earth. "This species," she said softly, "has the power to destroy, but they choose to build. That is the true mark of the strong." The Varnak had seen the stars burn. They had walked through storms. They had watched empires fall, but they had never met a species like humanity. And now, they wanted to know why. After the trials, an agreement was made. The Varnak would be given access to humanity's global database, an archive of history, culture, science, and art. In return, Earth asked for nothing. Knowledge should be shared. Dr. Hannah had said. Kerala accepted, but she was not ready for what she would find. Inside the Varnak ship, deep in a black data chamber, Kerala and her scholars began their research. What they expected: military victories, technological growth, a timeline of progress. What they found was madness. The 21st century, wars over oil, borders drawn in blood, people starving while others bathed in gold, cities drowning in their own air, oceans filled with plastic, forests turned into deserts, and then a flash of heat, a bomb, more bombs, and silence. The Third Global War, a time when humans almost ended themselves. Nations fell, skies turned red, machines turned on their masters, and yet people still fought to survive. Kerala read the reports. She watched old videos. Children with gas masks holding hands. Soldiers giving bread to strangers. Doctors building hospitals in ruins. And above it all, human voices saying again and again, "We're not done yet." One Varnak historian dropped his data tablet. "They destroyed their own world," he whispered. Why would they do that?" Another asked, How are they still alive? Kerala said nothing. She was watching footage from the year Earth almost died. 28:3. In the recording, a woman stands before a broken crowd. Her clothes are torn. Her voice is weak, but she speaks. This is not the end of the world. This is the end of the old way, and from these ashes we will rise. And they did. They built new cities from trash. They turned deserts into gardens. They connected continents not with wires, but with shared hope, not because someone saved them, but because they saved each other. Kerala turned to her crew. You see warriors, she said. But I see something else. I see a species that looked death in the face and said, not yet. Later, she watched a film created by children from a refugee camp. It wasn't fancy. Just a simple animation about a robot who learns to cry. It made no tactical sense, but somehow, it made her feel something. What is the core of their strength? Asked one Varnak. Anger? No. Unity? No. Technology? No. Kerala whispered. Pain. Pain remembered. Pain carried. Pain that teaches. Back on Earth, the humans didn't know what the Varnak were seeing. They just continued living. Mothers fed babies. Teachers read books. A boy built a spaceship model out of scrap. They weren't trying to impress anyone. They were just being human. And that was the most powerful thing of all. In her final report, Kerala wrote, they are not the strongest species in the galaxy because of their muscles. They are not the smartest because of their machines. They are the strongest because they remember, because they carry every wound and still walk forward, because they destroy and still choose to rebuild. The Varnak had never asked another species to teach them anything. Until now. Rayleigh sent one more message to Earth. We request to learn, not as leaders, but as students. Teach us what made you, you. In return, Earth sent a single file. Short story. It was about a small candle in the middle of a storm. Everyone told the candle to stop burning. It was useless. But it stayed lit. And when the storm ended, it lit every other candle. That was humanity's secret. Not perfection. Not power. But the ability to light the dark, even when the dark was their own doing. They had come expecting weakness. They had stayed to test strength. But now, the strongest species in the galaxy stood still, quiet, thoughtful, because something unexpected had happened. They had found equals, and more than that. They had found something worth respecting. The Varnak ship Krovanda, a floating city of black steel and molten core reactors, hovered just beyond Earth's atmosphere. Inside, Supreme Leader Kerala walked alone through the memory hall, a sacred place where each wall held the name of every species they had ever tested. Most of those names were now forgotten. Lost, failed, destroyed. But now, there would be a new name, not under tested, not under erased, but under something new, understood. On Earth, the final summit had been called No Weapons. No guards, just 5 humans and 5 Varnak. The Unity Dome glowed golden in orbit, its walls now completely transparent. Below them, Earth shined in full blue and green, cloud-covered, alive. Above them, the Varnak fleet floated like a silent mountain range in space. Captain Marlowe stepped forward, calm, steady. But this time, he wasn't speaking for Earth. Was speaking with Earth. Dr. Hanna stood beside him, holding a small plant. Again, a gift. Sophia had a book in her hand. Not science, not data, but poetry. Jamal wore no armor, no shield. Just his favorite t-shirt. Peace's Gangster. And Nico, the youngest voice, carried only a simple drawing. A human and a Varnak, sitting under the same star. Kerala, tall and glowing from within, stepped forward with no translator. Wanted her words heard in her real voice. She looked into Marlowe's eyes, then into Nico's, then the others, and she said, "We thought strength was in fire. But you showed us it also lives in kindness. We thought wisdom was in silence. But you showed us it speaks in laughter, in songs, and in foolish courage. We thought we were the last to survive, but we were wrong. There was a pause, the kind of pause that hangs heavy between civilizations. Then Kerala removed the black symbol from her chest, the emblem of the Varnak, forged from their death worlds. Core, it had never been given to anyone outside their kind. She held it out. To Earth, she said. To humanity. To the ones who survived themselves. Marlowe accepted it, not as a trophy. Not as proof of victory, but as something greater. Recognition. The ceremony continued without titles, without flags, without borders. It was simple, but powerful. At the end, Sophia opened her book. She read one line, written centuries ago, in a world that barely survived itself. We are not perfect. We are not always wise, but we look at the stars, and we try again. The Varnak bowed their heads, not as rulers, not as judges, but as students, now willing to learn, because the strongest species in the galaxy had finally understood. Strength is not the power to destroy. It is the will to rebuild. Days passed, then weeks. Varnak ships began to dock on Earth, not for conquest, for conversation. Scientists from Ravka shared healing technology with Earth doctors. Humans introduced laughter to Varnak soldiers. It confused them at first, then became addictive. Children from both worlds sent drawings, stories, puzzles. Some of the puzzles even stumped Varnak AI systems. One Varnak scholar admitted, "They confuse us. But they also move us." Nations that once feared war began to imagine peace. Humans, for the first time, weren't just surviving, they were leading, not by force, but by example. Kerala, in her final transmission to the Council of Worlds, sent one sentence: "There is no creature more dangerous than the one who chooses compassion over fear." That is humanity. Species, Homo sapiens planet, Earth Deathworld class, Level 7 status, feared, respected, chosen. Galactic role, first world of hope somewhere, far from Earth. A new species receives their first deep space signal. It's not a threat. It's not a warning. It's a simple human message. We are from Earth. We have fallen before, but we always rise again. And if you are out there, you are not alone.